Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. Later in the show, we'll learn about the new residential real estate appraiser certification associate's degree being offered at Mesa Community College.
I'm Susan Levy, and in the studio with us today is Lieutenant Commander Arrol Perry, and he's the pharmacist at Phoenix Indian Medical Center. And so today we're going to talk about the annual Drug Take-Back Day and the Trunk or Treat Health Fair on Saturday, October 26th. And we're super excited he's here, and I can't wait to learn more about National Drug Take-Back Day. So, Lieutenant Commander Arrol Perry, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
And I forgot to say welcome.
Oh,
so
sure.
Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. My name is Arrol Perry. Also go by Lieutenant Commander Arrol Perry. So a little bit about me is I am Navajo. I was born on the Navajo Nation. And usually when we are from the Navajo Nation, we always introduce ourselves. So Yat Arrol Perry Yinishe Sinajini Nishle Nankai Nambashishi Horanahi Dashiche Tachini Dashanale Chehotso De Nasha Phoenix Indian Medical Center de Nalnish. So I am the Black Streak Forest people born for the Mexican clan. I currently work at the Phoenix Indian Medical Center, and I'm from St. Michael's, Arizona.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're here. Can I ask a question? How did you get interested in being a pharmacist?
Oh,
That's like you have to be really clinically oriented and really detail oriented. How'd you get interested?
Yes. So I got interested just growing up on the reservation. I would be out with my grandparents and they'd be taking their medications. And as a young kid, you would always be curious and ask them, what are you taking or what's that for? They had no idea what it was for. They were just always told to take it by their doctor when they were seen at Fort Defiance was our local hospital. So they didn't question. They didn't know what it was for. They didn't know anything about side effects. None of that information was known to them. So that kind of sparked my interest into the medical field. Also, just kind of being out on the reservation, there's a lot of herbs. Mm-hmm. So that a lot of traditional medicine that's known out there, and that kind of did spark some interest in me too, both traditional and medicine now. So
when you talk about your grandparents, do you think, and I don't know, I'm going a little bit off topic, but when you were looking at your grandparents and knowing that, do you, as a pharmacist, do you do it now differently so that you educate your patients coming in and saying, hey, this prescription is for this and this prescription is for that? So did that change your view of being a pharmacist and how you educate the population that you work with?
Yes. So I treat everyone as my relatives when I'm there. I always go.
Important.
Yes. I'm very detailed with my information. If they have any questions or if they want more information about it, I gladly give them that information via handout, or if they want some handouts or maybe some further patient education where they can share with their family about what they're taking, how they're taking. So, yes, I always go great detail with everyone.
That's cool. And I'm sure they appreciate it because if you don't know why you're being prescribed something, how can you take it? One, why would you take it on time? Why would you even take it? And if you don't know the side effects, I don't know. I just think that's great. What a great service, and I'm glad that you do that. Very important.
Yes.
And I'm sure that the people will take their meds correctly and will get better or take care of their chronic conditions with that.
Yep, that's our goal.
Okay, cool. All right. So I know that you all have something planned in a couple weeks. It's called National Drug Take-Back Day, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is National Drug Take-Back Day?
So National Drug Take-Back Day happens twice a year at sites all over the country to encourage people to clean out their medicine cabinets, get rid of old medications, unused and expired medications. Phoenix Indian Medical Center and community partners like the Phoenix Police Department, Phoenix Indian Center, Urban Indian Coalition of Arizona, and the DEA are working together to host a collection site at PIMC on Saturday, October 26. This time, in addition to providing a way to safely get rid of old and unused medications, we will have a health fair a trunk or treat event, food trucks, and Indian market.
That's going to be so cool. Why is Drug Take Back Day important? I mean, besides the obvious of bringing in your old medications, is it just to get meds out of the house? Is it just so that you don't flush them down the toilet? So why is it important?
That's a great question. It gives people a safe and secure location to dispose of their medications by removing medications that are no longer being used from the home. It can help to prevent children, acquaintances, and even pets from getting into medications that were not prescribed to them.
Okay. So I'm assuming you probably shouldn't flush medicine down the toilet, right?
No.
Probably not good for the water table and all of that. Okay. And it's probably not a good idea to put them in the trash either, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So how can you tell if someone in your household is using medications that were not prescribed to them? Would that be something like cough medicine? If you've got a teenager, should you be paying attention to that if things are disappearing, or if you're on pain medication? How do you know if somebody's using something besides maybe the bottle going down? Any other symptoms or signs?
So medications could be missing from where you store them or run out earlier than they should. It is important that you store medications appropriately where others, such as pets, children's visitors, cannot get into them, such as a lockbox. It can be dangerous to share medications with someone who is not prescribed the medications, especially controlled substances which have additional risks of overdose and potential abuse. With the help of the Phoenix Indian Center and the Urban Indian Coalition of Arizona, we will have medication lockbacks and other useful items and supplies to provide those who stop by our event.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, for people that don't know, what's a controlled substance?
So a controlled substance falls into 5 classes of categories of potential risk. The lower the numbers, such as C2, the higher the potential risk.
So it's 1 through 5?
Yes. Mostly it's documented through 5 to 2.
Oh, 5 to 2? Okay.
Yes.
And so the lower the number, the worse it is. Okay. So, what is that? What's a controlled substance? Does that mean, it's a pain medication or the ADHD medicine? What's sort of a controlled substance?
So controlled substances, they do fall into those categories, yes.
Okay.
They're regulated closely and monitored through the prescription programs. Each state's different. They have their own monitoring program. So once that medication is prescribed by a provider and filled at a specific pharmacy, it's documented. So, yes. So closely monitored on those specific controlled substances, as they're called. So they're FDA regulated. So
it could be a pain medication.
Right.
It could be ADHD.
It could be sleep medication as well, too.
I didn't know sleep was controlled also.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Ambien.
Oh, did not know that. Okay. All right. And then you mentioned a locked bag, that you're going to be giving those out on the Drug Take Back Day. So what's a locked bag? Can I cut it with scissors and get into it? Or does this have a lock on it? So if I was a teenager and I wanted to really get my mom's pain medication or somebody, can they, and you're giving out these bags, would they be able to cut it and then get the stuff out of it, or they're pretty secure?
They're pretty secure as far as safety-wise, and also it would show if someone tampered it or attempted to break into the bag. So you'll notice that something unusual is happening.
Okay, cool. All right, so who can attend the Drug Take Back Day on October 26th? Is this open to absolutely anybody in the community?
Great question. This event is open to the public. Anyone can stop by and drop off old, unused, expired prescriptions and over-the-counter medications. Okay.
Can I bring I actually have a dog that has different medications. Can I bring my dog's meds that she's not on anymore?
Yes, that works. As long as...
It's actually people medicine, but she can't take it.
I was going to say that.
Okay. And then can I bring liquids, ointments, creams, or is it just pills? And is it liquid too? Cough medicine?
Cough medicine would be considered liquid, yes.
So bring that or not bring that?
So we cannot accept liquid medications, creams, ointments, inhalers, aerosols, sharps, or needles. It is also best to try to remove all personal health information from the medication bottles that are being brought in. If you cannot remove the labels, you can block out the name, address, prescription number, and patient chart number using a black permanent marker.
Okay. I guess that's probably the easiest way rather than just opening the bottle and dumping pills in the bin, right? Okay. All right. So how else, if I can't make it to drug take back day, how else can I get rid of old meds? I know you said I shouldn't put them down the toilet and I shouldn't put them in the trash. So what should I do with them if I can't get there?
Great question. You can look up other national drug take back events on the DEA's website at www.dea.gov/takebackday to find the collection site near you. They will also have other helpful resources, including listings of year-round drug disposal locations in your area. For many medications, it can safely be disposed at home by mixing old, unused medications in used cat litter or coffee grounds, sealing them in a sealable container, and then discarding them in the trash. The FDA also has a flush list of certain medications that have a high risk of harming people from accidental exposure, but is low risk to the environment.
I did not know that. I did not know you're supposed to do that.
Yeah. Drug take-back programs are always the safest way to get rid of unused medications, but if you don't live near a drug disposal location, it's important to know other ways to keep your home safe.
Okay. So again, don't flush them down the toilet. Check with people. Check your resources, right?
Right.
Yeah, just don't put them down the toilet and all of that.
And then refer to the website, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay. All right. Very important.
Yes.
Okay. I also want to ask, so if somebody's got sharps, what should they do? And I know you said you're not taking sharps that day. Sharps containers. What do people do with like sharps containers? How do you get rid of those?
So there has been some updates as far as like disposing of sharps, especially when people have lancets when they test their blood sugar. They do have to put them in a unused container as well. So if you have an empty laundry detergent container, you can put them in there.
And then do you tape the top of it?
Yeah, and then you would write sharps on it.
And then where do you put that? In the trash?
You would call your local collection, either it's like Waste Management or Phoenix Indian Trash, get information as far as how to dispose of that. Because sometimes certain companies do not want to have those with the regular trash collection. So I would look up those resources on your local, like I said.
Like City of Phoenix?
Yes, City
of
Phoenix.
Or Mesa or Tempe, whatever,
Right.
like whatever municipality?
Yes.
Okay. And then can you also put them in coffee cans, or you recommend like laundry soap containers?
Right now, they mostly say laundry,
Okay.
just hard plastic, because
Okay.
coffee containers, I think that would kind of fall into a different category. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are you asked that a lot, how to get rid of them?
Yes.
Okay. We are too. We're always asked, how do you get rid of those? Yeah. Okay. And then I also wanted to ask you, so I know this sounds like a great event on October 26th. So it's Saturday, October 26th from 10 to 2. And you're going to have a trunk or treat health fair. Like, what is that going to be? Is it going to be fun? Is there going to be spooky stuff for kids?
Yeah. Great question as well. So, yes, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be combining this event with a health fair and Indian market. So bring the entire family for some fall fun. Kids can come in costumes, participate in our trunk or treat event, while families can speak to our various department representatives to get valuable health information. For patients who are eligible to receive care at PIMC, our immunization clinic will be open for vaccinations.
Like flu shots?
Yes.
Okay.
We will also be having a food drive for non-perishable items that will benefit St. Mary's Food Bank, and we encourage attendees to support the food drive.
Super important. We get food from St. Mary's.
Yes.
So you'd be supporting the community that we all serve. So very important. Okay.
Right, of course. And our Indian market will feature many vendors selling various arts, crafts, and gifts. So It is a great time to get your holiday shopping done early and support local artists and businesses.
It's exactly what I was going to say. Get a jump on the holiday shopping, right?
Yes, and we hope to see you there.
I'll be there. You guys always have the very best events, and I love shopping there. And I get a lot of gifts, and I love to spend my money there. So you all do such a great job. I love PIMC. So where's this going to take place at PIMC? First of all, where's PIMC for those people that don't know and that are new to the Valley?
So the Drug Take Back Day will take place on Saturday, October 26th at the Phoenix City Medical Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We are located at the northwest corner of 16th Street and Indian School in Phoenix, and we will be set up on the east patio of the hospital entrance.
Okay, and that's where everything, the health fair will be there.
Yes.
And then you're going to have the market in the parking lot. Let me go back. So Phoenix Indian Medical Center is at 4212 North 16th Street. And then the health fair and the drug take back day and the Halloween is from 10 to 2, but the market goes till 4. So you could do all that stuff first and then head to the market and buy a bunch of stuff for the holidays. And I think it sounds like a perfect day. The weather should be great. And you can get rid of all your old meds, clean out your cabinets. You can buy more stuff or get more things, right?
Right.
Okay. I know some of our stuff is in the cabinet, not in the or in the medicine cabinet. So then I could get more things in the bathroom. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
See, this isn't so bad.
No.
So does Phoenix Indian Medical Center, PIMC, do they have any social media? Do you guys have a Facebook page?
Yes, we do. So I encourage everyone to find, like, and follow Phoenix Indian Medical Center on Facebook for more information about our future events at PIMC.
And it's called Phoenix Indian Medical Center, right?
Yes.
The page? Okay. And I know you have lots of cool stuff on there. I also see a lot of health tips and health observances, and I learn a lot about like Great American Smokeout Day and Diabetes Awareness Month, and you always have a lot of good information. So I encourage everybody to also find it, like it, and follow.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on and talking about Drug Take Back Day, what you've done. I think it's great that you're there and that you care, and that when you were working with your grandparents, that you've ended up doing this and making a difference for the community. And the Drug Take Back Day events are always fun. I've been there. I am always impressed with the amount of pills that are in that tub at the end. Just like amazing colors. I don't know. That's what I remember. But PIMC always does the best events, and the market is great. And I know the health fair is always fun and interesting, a lot of information. And then I know the Halloween trunk or treat is going to be really fun too. So a great family event on October 26th with great weather.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up on Native Talk Arizona, we'll learn about the new residential real estate appraiser certification associate's degree being offered at Mesa Community College. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. And I'm Susan Levy, and with us today is Maricopa Community College's American Indian Outreach Program and the Tribal Home Ownership Coalition of the Southwest. So welcome, everybody. We're super glad you're here. So with us today, we have Talia White.
Hello.
Hello. And we have Chris Billey.
Hi.
And we have John Beshk.
Hi.
Hi. So before we get started, please tell us a little bit about each of yourselves.
Yeah, so hello everybody. It's Margaret, Talia White, and Shet, Twitchini, and Shlan, Sanjakina, Bashichin. Although Hanagatni Adishachea, that's what's on the Adishanala. So, hello, all my relatives out there. I am really excited to be here at Native Talk to explain a little bit more about our programs and all the opportunities here at Maricopa Community Colleges. I am a student service specialist at the American Indian Institute at Mesa Community College.
Man, you took that up like you had to do the tribal traditional.
Real sacred.
I know, now I got to do it. So I'm on call now. Yate anlil skocha Chris Billey nishya jo nash ajita nanish nada but ahne bashish chi. Clash che das charo bligana dashnalia. Jol ke dan tol kais nan shanda jo kada akwa hello all. My name is Chris Billey. I am Navajo. I do hail from northern New Mexico. I am the executive director for the Tribal Home Ownership Coalition of the Southwest. My background has really been in real estate home ownership for the last 20 years. I have kind of come into this position over the last year and a half. And I think I'll probably wait to get into the mission here kind of as we dive into this interview. But that's who I am and that's where I'm from.
And John.
Hello, my name is John Beshk, and I'm the real estate program director at Mesa Community College, and I've been at MCC since 1998 in an adjunct capacity, and then became full time in 2007, and became the real estate program director in 2007, overseeing real estate and appraisal.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. So before we get started, we're going to start with Talia. Talia, can you tell us a little bit about Maricopa Community College's American Indian Outreach Program? I know you guys have an amazing institute and do a lot for your students and the community.
Yeah, definitely. So Maricopa Community Colleges is made up of 10 community colleges throughout the valley. Specifically, we have been fortunate enough to provide student support services at 3 of our main campuses. So those are housed at Scottsdale Community College, South Mountain Community College, as well as Mesa Community College. And so the American Indian Outreach Program as a whole for district, they support us in various different ways. Each center tailors its programming in response to its student needs. So for us, specifically at Mesa Community College, we have a lot of focus on academic support, career and professional development, cultural resilience, and community outreach. So it's really exciting that we have this partnership going on with Chris because, that really speaks to our professional development aspect of what we're trying to provide for students.
So what kind of support do you offer to new and ongoing students? I know you said academic support. So do you have other things as well?
Yeah, we do all kinds of exciting things. We do academic advisement where we provide personalized counseling for students through one-on-one meetings. That way we are able to help them navigate their coursework and degree pathways that are aligned with their specific passions and things like that. We offer comprehensive financial aid assistance, so helping students navigate the complexities of funding their education through scholarships, tribal scholarships, private scholarships, and FAFSA. And then we are also committed to providing cultural support that honors and celebrates the beautiful indigenous heritages of our Native American student population.
You guys do a lot. And then do you have any, I think you just answered that. What programs does MCC offer for Indigenous students? So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I've got a question. I guess, Chris, I'm going to ask you. So I know you said CEO, correct, of the Tribal Home Ownership Coalition of the Southwest, correct?
Executive director.
Executive director.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is that? And I know I'm going off topic a little
Sure.
bit. So what is that?
What are we? You're asking me what the organization is?
Yes. What is the organization and what do you do?
We are a nonprofit that is really focused on increasing home ownership in tribal communities. So this is on the reservation.
Okay.
Ultimately, home ownership is something that's I think it's kind of fallen short in tribal communities. There's a lot of people kind of moving in that direction, but when we start talking about an equitable asset, there aren't a lot of programs to help folks who are typically 80% above area median income to become homeowners, right? And unfortunately, that's something that tribes in New Mexico and Arizona face. So our primary mission really is to try to change that number, right? And to try to increase tribal families becoming homeowners, right? And that could mean a lot of different things, whether it's offering support for home industry initiatives or professionals or advocacy or even just funding or being a voice for families to try to bring more programs and more attention to home ownership in tribal communities.
So all tribal communities or just Arizona and New Mexico?
Arizona and New Mexico right now. So
Okay.
our mandate really is just the Southwest.
Okay. And so how does this figure in? I know we're going to be talking about the Residential Real Estate Appraiser certification at MCC. So how does this fit together?
Well,
Or am I jumping the gun?
No. I think for us, we know that there's a massive need of appraisers because they're one part of the equation. We have this massive spectrum that will help increase home ownership in tribal communities, and the appraiser certification or appraiser profession is one of those needs that we need to fill in Indian country.
And I assume, is the process the same on tribal communities as it is in non-tribal communities in terms of like having an appraisal?
No, it's the home ownership process is different. I mean, ultimately there are a lot of the same guidelines and categories that folks have to fall under, but because of the nature of trust land versus fee land, there's a lot more hoops that we've got to jump through in tribal communities. And the distance from metropolitan areas, how appraisers value homes is completely different. So there are a few things that kind of are the same, but then there's a big chunk of how homeownership works on the reservation that doesn't mirror how things work off. So with the need of appraisers, my job, of course, one of the mandates that we have as an organization was to help alleviate the appraisal problem on the reservation. And we understood that if we can bring in more folks who are familiar with the reservations, with the home ownership issues, with just the overall process, then we can help to at least bolster the appraisals on the reservation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I just kind of chased my
Okay, so let me ask, so John will be running that program at
Yep.
MCC, correct?
Yep.
And people are going to come in and they're going to apply for the program.
Yes.
And they're going to learn how to be a residential real estate appraiser.
Yes.
But then they're also going to learn how to do urban, correct, or metropolitan or off reservation, and also tribal, both?
That's a majority of what they're going to be doing is going to be off reservation type of work,
Okay.
right? That's the education program at MCC. We are as an organization, we will most likely be working with other organizations to bring in that indigenous piece as well as working with lenders. We are going to be adding a small piece of this to some of these folks who are coming into this program, saying, hey, this is how appraisals work on the reservations. These are the problems that we're seeing, right? Just to help educate some of these folks. And going through this program, I think we're probably going to be having more conversations with John on how we can head these things off. But ultimately, the way that I had actually come about this was, again, that's part of our mission. And then I actually, as a former real estate agent, started to dive into different appraisal programs throughout the nation. And when I came across MCC's program, I found that it was far more robust, right? It had a lot of the base education, a lot of these missing pieces that you don't see in an online course, right? And coming from a community that ultimately, historically, has never had a lot of home ownership, culture or traditions or any of those real estate things that most non-native families understand that have been passed down. That doesn't exist in Indian country. So there's no base for that. Folks don't understand what an equitable asset. I shouldn't say folks. A majority of folks who live on the reservation, we start talking about home ownership. They don't have a lot of the base skills or that historical generational knowledge that was handed down. So it would be difficult to put somebody from this community into a 2-month course and say, hey, go take a test and become an appraiser. It's just not going to work, right? So as we look, and I've talked to a number of people throughout the nation about what their appraisal programs look like, and they weren't very robust at all. But when I came across John's program and what he'd done with MCC, it had all the pieces that we needed, right? Comparative analysis, some of the real estate, some of the construction stuff, the writing, all of this is important when you become an appraiser, but it's not taught at these 2-3 month courses that you can take online, right? Like this needs to be something where it has substance, and as folks become appraisers, they have all of the right tools to do their job well, especially in an area that is so needed and has very little homeownership processes that exist.
Well, that's critical. Your appraisal has to be correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to circle back with John for a second. So, John, can you tell us about the new residential real estate appraiser certification? It's an associate's, is that correct?
Yes, it is, and we kind of call it new, but we've actually had this degree since 2007. That's when we created it. But when we made some changes to our degree, and when we were going through the degree approval process with the Appraisal Qualification Board, which is the education arm of the Appraisal Foundation in Washington, D.C., I kind of went down a different path, because when I was going through that degree approval program, they said, John, does your degree include PAREA? And PAREA is an acronym. It stands for Practical Applications of Real Estate Appraisal. Because to become an appraiser, there's two components. There's an educational component and there's an experience component. And one of the roadblocks that most students were running into when they wanted to become an appraiser was not the educational component, it was the experience component, because what they had to do is they had to go out and find a mentor. And to explain a little bit on how difficult it was to find a mentor is, if you were an appraiser or somebody that was looking to become an appraiser and you needed to get this experience component to get your license, you would have to go find an appraiser and say, hey, would you be willing to train me at your expense for 1,000 hours? And then when we're done, I'll be your competition. So needless to say, people didn't have a high success rate with finding a mentor. So there was an educational provider called the Appraisal Institute. And we partnered with the Appraisal Institute because they created the PAREA program, which is an online module where students could take their 1,000 hours of practical experience in an online module versus having to go and find a mentor. So once we combine those two components together, that's what really made our degree something special, and why the Appraisal Foundation said, John, we're really interested and we want to approve that degree, because you're going to be the first college in the country that we've approved a 2-year degree in appraisal that includes all the educational and experience components. So once a student completes our program, they will be able to go and take the national exam to get their license.
So for those people that don't know, what does an appraiser do? So I don't know if Chris wants to answer that, or John, what does an appraiser do?
Well, I mean, I'll answer it. An appraiser is somebody that goes out and estimates value. And the reason that we really have appraisals in the fee world is because there's a lender involved. So if a buyer was purchasing a property and they were borrowing money from a lender, then the lender is going to say, we want to make sure that the property is worth what the buyer and the seller agreed to, because we're the one that's loaning the buyer money. And they have a copy of the purchase contract, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to justify the value, the market value that the buyer and the seller agreed to. They're trying to justify that based on comparable properties that they find. And the better the comparables, the better the chance they have of estimating that value or justifying that value for the lender.
So I'm just going to say something personally. Like at night, the only way I unwind is by watching HGTV. That's like the only thing
Okay.
I watch at night. And I always hear them talk about like appraisers and appraisal value. So if somebody's like me and that's all they watch at night is HGTV, would this be something they should check into or interested in?
Well, I guess I would say interested from what aspect?
Well, if like you're interested in real estate or houses.
Well, when I'm in my real estate classes, when we go over the chapter on appraisal, I always say that the appraiser kind of gets to play judge, jury, and executioner, because market value from an economic standpoint is what the buyer's willing to pay and what the seller's willing to sell it for. But if the buyer's getting financing, then we have this other person involved that is called an appraiser, because the lender wants to make sure that the value that the buyer and the seller agreed to is what the property is worth. Because if the lender didn't have an appraisal and for some reason the buyer defaulted on their loan and the lender took the property back, if it was worth well more than what they loaned, they're going to own an asset that's worth less than what they owed on it. And they don't want to do that. Right. So that's why we really have appraisals, is to justify the market value that the buyer and the seller agreed to.
Now, let's back up a second. How long is this program at MCC?
It's a 2-year program. I would wager to say that some students that might take a little bit longer. Maybe instead of 4 semesters, it might take them 5 semesters. But the way that we have it all laid out, students can complete the program in 2 years.
Okay. And just can you give me an example of what classes and training are part of the program?
Sure. And within the degree, we also have a stackable credential, which is the certificate in appraiser trainee. So not only could the students complete all of their qualifying education that they need in order to become an appraiser and all of their other general education courses that they have to take, but they could get their AAS and a stackable credential within that degree. So an example of some of the classes that would be offered in the degree from an appraisal standpoint would be basic appraisal principles, basic appraisal procedures, the 15-hour national USPAP course, the residential market analysis, highest and best use, cost approach, income approach, and the residential case studies. And then the last one is the appraiser trainee course. So those would be the 8 appraisal-specific courses that a student would have to complete in order to get the stackable credential and the AAS, in addition to the general education courses.
So can graduates find jobs pretty easily?
They can. We've been noticing over the years that we're starting to see that there's a shortage of appraisers, and I know Chris mentions this often, that they really have a shortage of appraisers up on the reservations. But we're starting to see that even off reservation, because appraising is kind of an aging profession, and there's more people leaving than coming in. And the reason that we've seen over the years that more people are leaving than coming in is because the requirements that the AQB has set in order for somebody to become an appraiser, like the experience component that I talked about, where students would have to find a mentor for those 1,000 hours in order to complete that portion of the requirements. Now students don't have to worry about that. They could do their experience component through an online module versus having to go find a mentor. So the barrier to entry is becoming less and less, and I think as time goes on, the AQB is going to continue to see this, and they may make the requirements even less strict than they are right now. I can't say that. That's just my personal opinion, but I think since we've seen Perea approved, we're starting to see more people that want to get involved in the industry, want to become appraisers, because it's more accessible now than it's been in years past.
So I'm not sure who can answer this question. I know that you've got a scholarship available, right? Okay, and that's
we do, yes.
And that's through who? Is that through Wells Fargo?
So the scholarship's actually coming from the coalition, and we're actually funded by the Wells Fargo Invest Native Initiative. So Wells Fargo has a philanthropic side that's really kind of focused on helping Indian country, right? They're focusing on a number of different things. One of them trying to better the environment, trying to increase financial literacy, and then trying to combat housing, the housing issues that we face in Indian country. So we're actually we've got a good chunk of operating income for our programs, and so part of this scholarship is coming from that. So we're actually infusing the Maricopa Foundation with about $75,000. So that was going to go for as long as we can push it. So as many people as we can get through this program, we're going to try to run that funding down. But the unfortunate thing is once that funding's gone, it's going to be gone.
So if somebody's interested in being an appraiser, then they could apply to this program, correct, at MCC?
Yes.
Go through the program, and then hopefully come back and do some appraisals on tribal lands, correct?
Yes. It is competitive. We are taking a look at folks who are coming to this program. We are opening this only to Native folks who are residing and working in both New Mexico and Arizona.
Okay. And I know we posted it on our social media with a pretty good response. I think we've run it twice.
Yeah, and if there's any students that are interested in pursuing the appraisal program, we definitely encourage you to come through the American Indian Institute. We'll help you get enrolled. The requirements for the scholarship is just to be enrolled at Mesa Community College pursuing an associate's degree in applied science in the real estate appraisal program, as well as having a 2.0 GPA. And so, we could go through all of those steps and get you all signed up. It's really an amazing program, amazing opportunity. And a lot of times when we talk to our students, their passion lies with, gaining their education, gaining these skills, the knowledge, and then bringing it back to their home communities. So this really speaks to, those initiatives.
So is it a rolling application process, or is it end in the fall and start up again in the spring?
I believe it's a rolling, so all the students have to do is just, enroll, and then once they get enrolled with the school, then we would give them assistance in accessing the Maricopa Community College scholarship site, and then they would be able to apply to this scholarship as well as other opportunities as well.
I think it sounds like an incredible program.
Yes.
I think being an appraiser would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're going to do a lot of traveling for sure.
But a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to see great stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm an HGTV nut. So for me, I think that would be great to compare houses and do appraisals, and it is so critical. And I know people don't understand all of it, especially when you go to close, and if the numbers don't match, your loan's got to be adjusted. And
yeah, there's it goes a lot farther than that, I think, in Indian country. With appraisals, how appraisals affect Indian families. So, for instance, like John was talking about, when they start doing loans, or the lender requires the appraisals in order to give fair market value, right, or at least their professional opinion. Well, in Indian country, this idea of transactional sales is really starting to have more momentum, right? But many folks don't understand where their starting point is. So when we come in with a real appraiser or appraisal, and we do that appraisal for that home, many of them are blown away by how much their home is worth. Many of the transactions that happen under the table or behind closed doors are selling homes. Some families are selling homes for $20,000 to $30,000, which, if you go just off the reservation, those same homes are selling for $300,000, $400,000, right? But because those homes aren't being valued correctly, because there isn't a lender coming in, those families are missing out on using that asset, or at least gaining that equity, right? So as these Native families begin to access that equity, it's a game changer for a lot of people. It helps them start businesses. It helps them move off. It helps fund educations. These are a lot of the tools that were denied Native families for generations. And now that we have this piece of the puzzle that we're working on, it's going to be a game changer. It already is, right? For some families who are moving off the reservation, they can sell their homes. And if they're able to do it on the market, then that changes things drastically for them. So now they have access to that equity.
But the process is different, correct?
It is. And again, we're dealing with trust land, and we're not dealing with fee simple. So title is going to be different. How ownership is taken of the land is different, because then we're talking about residential leases, home site leases, and things. But there are a lot of financing mechanisms or programs that will, mortgages that will work with home site leases now on the reservation. There's a number of federal mortgage programs that are starting to develop programs that work specifically for the reservation, right? Most folks know about the HUD 184, but then we've got folks from Fannie Mae dealing with Heritage One. We've got USDA programs. We've got the VA NADL, which is the Veterans Native American Direct Loan. So a lot of the feds are coming in. They are working to increase home ownership, and again, a crucial piece of that puzzle is going to be appraisals.
So that's why it's important to train them for tribal lands as well as off.
Absolutely.
So that people could go back and do that.
Yeah, and
do it correctly.
Yeah, and it is one of those growing industries, right? So we're kind of at the infancy of it. It's been happening for many years under the table. We're trying to bring it to the light and make sure that it all gets done correctly.
God, what a great program, right? How important is that? And then let these families.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to empower a lot of Native families over the coming
awesome.
years.
Wow. Okay. I guess the one thing I'd like to ask you, Chris, is before you have to scoot out of here, is do you have a favorite success story from your program?
Well, this program is just now starting. So we've got 3 folks who we've approved for the scholarship, and we're really excited about them. These are folks who are working already in the real estate field. They already kind of understand the lay of the land. Or we have another person who's already with a housing authority. So I think they're going to be very strong appraisers when they get their certification and they're able to come through on this.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're excited.
And that'll take 2 years, right, to go through the program?
Well, for them, I think they both have bachelors, so it's going to be shorter. I think they've just got to do the 8 core programs and then get their pariah hours done. So hopefully a lot less than 2 years, and we can have them out there appraising properties.
That's awesome. So if somebody wants to go through the program, so Talia, you said, again, they'd have to apply to MCC, get accepted, and then they would apply to John's program, correct? Or the scholarship?
Yeah, so they would get enrolled. We would get them enrolled in the Associates in Applied Science program specific to the real estate appraisal program, and then guide them through the scholarship process and applying for that.
And John, so I assume it's a lot of fun, right?
It is the program or being an appraiser?
Both. I think being an appraiser would be fun.
Well, I can't speak from experience because I'm not an appraiser. I'm a real estate broker. I've been a licensed real estate broker in Arizona for 32 years, and I own a real estate brokerage. But I'm not an appraiser. I'm the program director for real estate at MCC. But we have an instructor that teaches all the appraisal courses. Her name is Quante Cruz, and she's a state certified appraiser and a state legislator. And she has many years of experience in appraisal, and she's the one that's actually the instructor of record for all of the appraisal courses that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, so I think the big take-home message today, I think from everybody, right, is apply to MCC, apply to this program, get your real estate appraisal certification, and go back to tribal lands, right?
Yes.
And help families.
Absolutely.
I think that sounds like the take-home message, right?
Yes.
And start applying. This program sounds phenomenal.
And one other thing that I kind of wanted to add to what Chris was talking about is he mentioned that, so few appraisers know how to appraise property on tribal leased land. We even have that problem off the reservation. I have a couple of investors that I work with that buy properties and they turn them into leaseholds, which is similar to what native land is. So they'll take a fee simple property, and what they'll do is they'll create a leasehold and they'll put a land lease on it, and then they turn around and we resell it as a leasehold. And a lot of appraisers, when they appraise that, they don't know they don't know the difference on how to appraise a lease fee or a leasehold property versus fee simple. And if it's a long enough land lease, then guidelines will say that they should appraise that the same that they would any other kind of property. But that's not always the case, and that's why we think it's really important to educate appraisers on the difference between leasehold property and fee property.
Okay, sounds like a great program. So again, reach out to Mesa Community College's American Indian Studies program or outreach, right?
American Indian Institute.
Sorry, I was close. And then Chris, we're going to get Chris to come back on again and talk about home ownership on tribal lands, which is so important. And John, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
You guys, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. If there's anything else that you need, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for having me. I
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
this.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.